identify yourself for the record. We will conduct this meeting in the usual fashion. We will first receive information from city staff about the application and the recommendation. If the recommendation is favorable and no one objects to the application, the matter is uncontested. The Board of Zoning Appeals usually, but not always, approves uncontested applications. For all applications, the board reserves the right to ask questions of the staff, applicant, or others in attendance prior to rendering a decision. If, however, the city recommends against the application, or if there is opposition to the application, we treat the application as contested and hear from the applicant and anyone else who is in favor of the application. Next, we hear from anyone opposed, followed by a short rebuttal from the applicant. We then close the public hearing portion of the meeting for that particular application and open discussion to the Board of Zoning Appeals members only. We will then make a decision to approve with conditions, or deny the application. The Board of Zoning Appeals zoning has the authority to do three things. Number one, hear appeals to decisions of the zoning administrator. Number two, grant special exceptions, a fact-finding function of the board. And number three, grant variances to the zoning ordinance if the application meets the hardship test outlined in section 54-924 of the ordinance. The board may deliberate and make a final decision on a matter by a majority vote of members present at the hearing and qualified to vote, provided that not less than a quorum is present and qualified to vote. However, an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the board members present and voting shall be required before a use variance may be granted. For a variance to be granted, the Board of Zoning Appeals must make the following findings. A, that there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. B, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. C, because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. And D, the authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. I'm required by our city's ordinance to ask you to swear to tell the truth if you intend to speak tonight. So if you do intend to speak, please raise your right hand. If you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, you'll signify by saying, "I do." Thank you. I don't think we have any deferrals, Mr. Summerfield. Is that right?
No, sir, nothing.
Okay, so we've got a full 10-item agenda, and we'll be rolling through that here shortly. So the first item on the agenda, A, review of minutes and deferred applications from previously advertised BZA-Z agendas. Number one, review minutes of the August 19, 2025 meeting. Board members, those minutes have been circulated to you in your packet of materials for this meeting. Do I have a motion? I move to approve. All right, Mr. McKay moves to approve. There's a second. All right, Mr. Goodwin seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nobody's opposed, but Ms. Grass abstains because she was not present at the meeting. So the minutes are approved by a vote of 5-0. All right, the next item on our agenda, B, new applications. Number one, 95 Spring Street, Cannonboro, Elliottboro, Council District 6, TMS number 460-08-03-069, zoned LB residential. Requesting special exception under section 54-110F to extend a non-conforming west side setback of 5 feet, 9 feet are required, to modify a front porch to extend a non-conforming west side setback of 3 feet, 10 inches, 9 feet again are required, and non-conforming east side setback of 1 foot, 8 inches, 3 feet are required to modify a rear porch and to extend a non-conforming total side setback of 5 feet, 15 feet are required. The owner is Harrison Malpass. The applicant is Ashley Jennings. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so you may remember that you actually heard an item related to this property to allow for the duplex to that historically had been in this structure and on this property to be reestablished as a part of this lot. This is an existing kind of home on Spring Street. You can see it from the aerial here, kind of tucked in there, very narrow, very long lot. As a part of our review for the building permits, once BZA-Z action and completed on the reestablish the non-conforming residential density for the 2 units. We saw, noticed, determined that the encroachments that we have for the porches in the rear and in the front required special exceptions to just address their non-conforming status as it relates to some of the some of the setbacks. So that's what we're here for this evening. Staff continues to be fully supportive of this project, getting this property back in healthy, productive use. These special exceptions do not create, we don't believe, any kind of difficulty for any of the neighboring properties. And so staff is in support of the requests.
All right, thank you. Do we have anybody here tonight who is in opposition to the application for 95 Spring Street? Anybody here in opposition? Yes, seeing nobody, do we have the owner applicant here? All right, Ms. Jennings, anything you'd like to say? All right, do we have any discussion about this application? Anybody have any questions? All right, Ms. Grass moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Morrison seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes unanimously, and the special exceptions for 95 Spring Street are granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda, A2, 4 LaBrie Street, Charlestown, Council District 8. TMS number 457-16-01-037, zone SR4, requesting a special exception under section 54-110F to vertically extend a non-conforming north side setback of 2 feet 2 inches. 3 feet are required for a 3rd floor addition. The owners are Ryan Mitchell and Annie Gallagher. The applicant is Glenn Keys Architects. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this property on LaGree Street is at the corner of LaGree and Lombo. This is a very minor change that they're proposing to make to this home. Let's see. I'm going to just run through these really quick, that I can get to an image that'll really show the extent of the change. So they're doing some remodel work inside the home. You can see a number of pictures here that the applicant has supplied. And the area that we're going to be looking at is, if you look in a picture that's just to the lower, what would that be, the lower left, you can kind of see that there's a slight step out there or step back, kind of essentially be kind of looking in that general area, but we've got a better picture that will show that in a minute. Again, this is going to facilitate their ability to do some remodel work, specifically in the on the 3rd floor, where they will be building a new, I believe it's a new bathroom. And honestly, if you can see on the plan here, the addition on this 3rd floor, very, very small. It's just this shaded area where the new, essentially the new sink is going to go, and the exception is for the encroachment is just this relatively small area in red. So a very minor request here. Again, you can kind of see it in the drawing there. It'll create basically the 3rd floor to line up with the 2nd and 1st floor above the garage. It has sort of that cantilevered effect you can see here in the section. And then in this photo here, again, really easy to see. It'll just basically fill in the square kind of in this space here. So again, a relatively small request. The Historic Charleston Foundation does have an easement on this property, and they have, with some conditions, they have approved the request. Staff is in support of the special exception. Again, very minor, should not cause any issues for any neighbors. I do want to note that we did receive from the architect an indication of some outreach that they had done to the neighborhood association as well as some of the neighbors. In that, they did indicate support on these. I do want to be very clear that we did receive correspondence that made it clear that Member McKay did not issue any kind of opinion as it relates to this application on behalf of Charleston Neighborhood Association. In fact, he refreshed the memory that they do not take positions on BZA, BAR applications as a neighborhood association. So just want to make sure that's clear for the record, given that that is in our public comment packet. And with that, Mr. Chairman, and staff is recommending approval of this item.
All right, thank you, Robert. Does anybody, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
That's with the HCF conditions.
Those are on their easement, so I mean, our action would just be to approve the special exception because the HCF owns those easements. They will have to comply
Okay.
with those requirements.
And so we're talking about a 10-inch, right, setback.
Essentially, an encroachment
on a non-conforming existing.
Exactly.
All right, so do we have anybody here who's opposed to the application for Fort LaGree? Anybody in opposition? All right, seeing no one in opposition, do we have the owner or applicant here? Anything you'd like to say to the board? All right, any discussion? You don't have any issue with the easement, right? You'll be pursuing that with HCF? Okay. All right, any questions?
Move approval.
Mr. Morrison moves to approve. Is there a second? Mr. Huey seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes unanimously, and the special exception for Fort LaGree Street is granted. Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda. New applications, B3, 23 Parkwood Avenue, Hampton Park, Paris, Council District 6, TMS number 460-02-04-112, Zone DR1F. Requesting a special exception under section 54-110F to vertically extend a non-conforming rear setback of 6 feet 1 inch and a non-conforming front setback of 19 feet 7 inches, 25 feet 25 feet are required to enclose a second-story deck. The owners are Andrea and Sylvia Plunkett. The applicant is Bobby Newman. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this property is at the corner of Parkwood Avenue and Congress Street, as you can kind of see here. You can see on the aerial, they do have the house, and then they have a detached garage in the back that actually the house again has a front porch that goes out on Congress Street, but it's actually addressed off of Parkwood. You can see here, sort of, if I zoom in, because the site plan is very small. You can see here that the area that they would be doing the proposed enclosure is interior to the site, so it's between the home and the existing garage that they have. But because of the way this lot is configured and set up, you do have a kind of a front porch here, and then I guess it's just kind of the side porch actually that fronts down towards Congress. Sorry, I misspoke there. At any rate, because we do the front setback to be wherever you're fronted on instead of a different way of doing it. This property actually would be considered non-conforming for both its front and rear setback, which is why we've done the advertisement the way we did, just to be safe on all counts. So the area in question is the dark black. You can see again the floor plan. It's again a very small adjustment. It would put the second story above the screened-in porch. You can see the area on the house where that would go. Another image that kind of gives that perspective of that existing relatively small porch, again, that's already between the house and the garage. They do like colors on this property, like that. And they do have support from their neighbors, and you will find copies of these in our comment packet. With that, staff is recommending support of this request.
All right, thank you. Do we have anybody here who is opposed to the application for 23 Parkwood Avenue? Anybody in opposition? All right, seeing no one in opposition, do we have the owner or applicant here? All right, anything you'd like to say to the board?
No, thank you.
All right, any questions for the city? Any questions for the owner applicant? All right, Ms. Grass moves to approve. Is there a second? Mr. McKay seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes unanimously. And the special exception for 23 Parkwood Avenue is granted. Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda, B4. 1110 King Street, North Central, Council District 4, TMS number 463-12-03-129, zoned GB. Requesting a special exception under section 54-110F to vertically extend a non-conforming south side setback of 2 feet, 9 inches, 9 feet are required for a rear second floor addition. The owner is Greta Cruzy. The applicant is Rockwell Construction. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so you can see this property is one of the commercially zoned properties that fronts on King Street. This is in the area of Poplar Street and Simmons Street, where we had a number of applications in recent times. You can see here on the aerial how this property sits and fronts towards King. The request of the applicant is to, in the rear of the property. So that you can see on the board, so they have an existing back porch, deck, I believe it is, and then they have the proposed addition that would go in that space. There at the rear of the property, you can see here the proposed first floor and then the second floor. Existing condition on the property, and then you can see how that would change with the proposed addition above that existing one-story element in the rear. They do have support from various neighbors on King Street. And this is a special exception due to the existing setback right here. Going vertical, it seems to be in conformance with the neighborhood, which allows 2-story structures. In fact, this is a 2-story structure with this just 1-story element in the rear. And so staff is recommending approval of the special exception.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody here in opposition to 1110 King Street's application? Anybody in opposition? All right, seeing no one in opposition, do we have the owner or applicant here? All right, anything you'd like to say to the board? All right, do we have any questions for? Yes, please.
I was wondering if this is an after the fact, if the addition has already been added?
And that could be addressed to are you the owner or the applicant?
Applicant.
Okay, would you like to come up to the podium, please, and address Ms. Grass's question?
Fortunately, yeah. So yeah, the framers got ahead of us and already built it. And then, so it's only been framed, nothing else has happened. Everything has been stopped on that second floor addition. So very interesting.
Yeah, I drove by it today and noticed that the entire addition's already been built.
Framed, yes.
Okay, and so that's an issue we typically don't favor after the fact applications. However, the circumstances here are that you recognized or realized that you needed a variance after it had been framed. So you made an application, you stopped work, and you're here seeking the special exception. And you understand that if the special exception is denied, you'll have to take the framing down.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for the applicant?
Question for the applicant.
Sorry.
Contractor, are you the contractor?
I work for the contractor.
Oh, okay. Contractor did not realize permits needed to happen, or?
Well, we applied for the permit and it was during the permit review process that we realized that there was a zoning exemption needed. And it was the framer the plans were on site showing it, and he just went. So then it was brought to our attention during the permitting process that there was a special exemption needed, and then we applied for that.
But he didn't even get a permit to construct the addition.
There was already a permit on the property, so we did a, oh my God. Like we applied, update the permit, and then that's when it kicked in, the special exemption was needed.
Any further questions for the applicant? All right, thank you very much. Any discussion?
So why didn't the city tell us this was an after the fact?
Because they didn't tell us in the BZA team that it was after the fact, and I don't think it's a result of any enforcement action. So I don't know that even in our permit review that we're officially aware that the framing occurred.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we ever miss these from time to time because Ms. Grass happened to drive by and see it. It's the only way we know about
Oh, I'm absolutely sure there's probably an opportunity for that. We do our best to check the property when we go out and post signage to check on it. Although, because this was a special meeting, I think we divvied it up because between different staff members, so I don't know any of the team members that went out would have been necessarily looking.
it. Maybe you better have a word with them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was already concerned about the neighbor to the, behind them, just because there was no letter of support or opposition from them.
Right.
So I was gonna ask that question, but then when I saw that,
Yeah, I assure you, if we had known that it was after the fact, made that clear prior. Well, as a part of our presentation.
Anyway, city's good with the application.
Yeah, again, it's an existing condition in terms of the setback and they're building up, not really out, and so, yes.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, let's put it to a vote. Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
All right, Mr. Morrison moves to approve. Is there a second? Mr. Huey seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we got 2 opposed, Ms. Grass and Mr. McKay. We've got 4 in favor, Mr. Huey, Mr. Goodwin, Mr. Morrison, and myself. The motion passes and the special exception for 1110 King Street is granted. Thank you. And just tell everybody, it's better to do it in advance.
Yeah, and I will note that we put it was after effect in our application as well.
Oh,
We were not trying to pull this one over.
All right, and I apologize, I didn't mean to imply that. So apparently we missed it on the staff side when we reviewed the fact that it was indicated as
You
after.
missed it in the application. You missed it when you posted the sign twice.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is B5, 80 Ashley Avenue, Charleston Village, Council District 8, TMS number 457-03-04-068, zoned STR, requesting a special exception under section 54-110F, must be the night, to vertically extend a non-conforming rear setback of 0 feet, 25 feet are required for a second-story office. The owner is 80 Ashley LLC. The applicant is Capers G. Barr III. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so 80 Ashley Avenue, you'll recall, was recently before you to get a use variance to allow this historic building to be used for an office. Previously, it was a gas station, service station. It's been requested to be a couple different things in the past, but the most recent owner of the property is requesting to do an office here. is at the corner of Ashley Avenue and Wentworth Street. And so you kind of see here in the aerial, you know, the area basically that's not under the gabled roof is where you're going to see the extension. As always, Mr. Barr is giving an excellent breakdown of what the request is. Hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to read that. So the reuse of this building, again, a historic building, lots of interest from the community, as well as I think the previous owner was Historic Charleston Foundation. They had actually bought it to help ensure that it would be appropriately reused and preserved. So the proposal is for an office building that would accommodate I believe it's an interior designer and a contractor, contractor. This would now become their main headquarters. As a part of that, though, they need some additional office space, meeting space on the second floor. And so they are proposing to do this addition that would follow, you know, the various rules from the Secretary of the Interior about making it subordinate to, and so there's some stepping back. I think they'll need to work with the BAR to ensure that it's both complementary and yet distinctively different. But what you're here for today is just to prove the fact that with this second floor addition, it does create a vertical increase in the intrusion into the setback, where currently it's a 0-foot setback at that rear and side property line. And with that, again, this is a historic property. There's no adjusting that. The addition will go through the BAR process, I believe. That should not be a question or an issue. So they'll deal with the architectural components of it. But staff is very supportive of getting this building back in use, productive use, and so is supporting the request for a special exception.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody here who's opposed to the application at 80 Ashley? Anyone in opposition? All right, seeing no one, Mr. Barr, anything you'd like to say?
If it may please the board, and you may ask why I'm standing up in light of what happened with the others where there was no opposition. This afternoon, I realized that I had mistakenly, erroneously, recited only the 0 lot line configuration at the rear. And Mr. Summerfield, forgive me for not giving you a heads up, but I just literally realized it about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. Because if you'll go to Exhibit A, go to the detail, if you move on, yeah, right there, go to that one. You can expand on that. There is actually also a nonconformity with the north line. So my application related to the 0 lot line configuration at the rear, which is being extended vertically. But that vertical extension also implicates the north setback. The east setback is 25 feet. The north setback is 6 feet. So the addition will be within the footprint, that is within the parapet wall. It's not going to be resting on top of the current exterior wall. There will be a parapet wall. Maybe there's another drawing, Mr. Summerfield, that gives us a better idea of what it looks like. But you can see well, if you go back to the same one, the
notice issue anyway.
the wall of the addition.
That's right.
If you move on to maybe another one.
Well, so this one has the line of the floor above.
This will be where the second floor addition will be. So in the application, I was focused only on this 0 lot line issue here, which is obviously not 25-foot setback, but there's also a 6-foot setback here. And so I should have in the application noted the fact that the vertical extension will also be within that area.
Okay. And, Mr. Barr, don't you think that we're gonna have to renotice it?
Yeah.
Due to that fact?
Well, have to renotice it.
Yes, sir.
I guess it depends on the requirement for notice, and I really didn't have within the hour I had an opportunity to fully research it, but I did find some zoning authority in terms of the requirements for notice in zoning. It's required which fairly and reasonably apprises those whose rights may be affected of the nature and character of the action proposed. And I think there are cases that place a burden on other property, others, the public, to inquire once they see there's an application to ask, well, what is this all about? Look into it. But Mr. Tibbles, or ladies and gentlemen, in your entirety, I certainly, although I would prefer for that not to happen simply because we're on a crunch in terms of our performance under the contract with Historic Charleston. I think that's up to the board's discretion.
Okay. If we deferred it to enable them to amend their application, how quickly could we get them back on the agenda? Could we hear them in 2 weeks or next week?
No, because we'd have to run a new newspaper notice. So this would be the October 7th meeting.
Mr. Morrison, any thoughts on the inquiry notice issue?
You know, I don't really have an opinion on it, other than I've never seen us do what Mr. Barr's suggesting we might be able to do under the law, which is go ahead with it anyway. I'm a little afraid of delving into this area when we don't. The city's saying we should renotice. I don't doubt Mr. Barr's got law that says we might be able to get by without renoticing, but to me, it's taking a risk we haven't ever taken before. It would make me a little uncomfortable.
And I might say, don't mean to intrude on your colloquy, but my view of it was my research of it was very brief. Was very brief. I can cite a case, but I can cite a case, but it was.
Well, we hate to push it back, and I'm sure it'll be non-controversial, but at the same time, I do think that we ought to do things the right way. I know that this property, while it's now, everybody is very supportive of the current use proposed and what you're doing with it. I know in the past, it's been subject to some controversy, and so I just would want to make sure that we do things the right way without any question. And
Well, that's my reason for the disclosure. And for Summerfield, again, I apologize for not giving you a heads up about this, but it was sudden, recent, and disappointing. Otherwise, I owed it to the process and to the board.
Well, and we certainly appreciate the fact that you're being so forthright about it. And, you know, as I've learned in my own personal experience, professional experience, of problems don't get better with time. It's better to dip them in the bud. So I sympathize with you. At the same time, I'm thinking prudence and discretion may be the better part of valor here. Do we have a motion to defer?
No difference between deferral or withdrawal.
Well, I think,
Deferral will get it first on the agenda on the 7th, whereas a withdrawal means a completely new application, and it'll
yeah,
get
we
it
don't
where
want
it
to put
fits
it
in.
back 6 months.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, not,
I might also say, well, whereas I feel a lot of pressure, I also have a great concern for my friends at Historic Charleston Foundation, who are the sellers in this transaction, are
Yes.
anxious to get it concluded.
I understand. Well,
HCF is the first organization that wants us to follow the rules. That's my experience.
They will be the first ones coming to remind us that we missed a rule.
All right,
Apparently, I'm the one who missed it, so I take the full heat for that. And I don't, I cannot argue against the direction in which the board seems to be heading.
And for the record, Mr. Chairman, so the way it reads is the notice shall contain a description of each matter to be heard. And so I think since technically it's two separate,
well, sure, it's all over the agenda. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had two special exceptions to consider and
There's
vote.
only one special exception, now, if I may say, but the special exception applies to
Scope
two
of
areas of
it,
the.
two setbacks,
Both the.
Yeah,
both
side
the-
setback and rear setback.
Correct.
Okay,
Earl.
all right, Ms. Morrison moves to defer. Is there a second? Ms. McKay will second the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. We'll defer it. We'll get you back here on October 7th and I'll talk to Mr. Hasty if he raises any problems with that.
I will get these papers.
Thank you.
we'll reach out to you. I think we have everything. We just need what the amended request is. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
All right, the next item on our agenda, B6, 154 Spring Street, Cannonboro, Elliottboro, Council District 6, TMS number 460-11-02-082, zoned LB Accommodations Overlay, requesting a special exceptions under section 54-220 to expand an existing accommodations use from 4 units to 9 units, 10 are required, and to allow a meeting space with 396 square feet. 400 square feet are required. The owner is Fred Stone, the applicants are Fred Stone and Jared Thomas. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this property is kind of mid-block on Spring Street between President and it's not
Cracky.
okay, thank you. Thank you. The E is a thing, because I was gonna say it's not Crack Street. That wouldn't be right? Cracky Street. So it's mid-block between President and Cracky Street on Spring Street. You can see here in the aerial how the property is situated with essentially 3 structures on it, 2 multi-story structures and then 1 smaller structure. You can see here in the applicant's packet, they've provided some photos as well as a site plan that kind of breaks up the space. Under their proposed site plan, you can see how they're adjusting some of their parking and connectivity through here. Essentially, this request is not to add anything new from a building standpoint. It's reconfiguring within the existing buildings and then moving elements around. And so as a result of their request, they are requesting to go from 4 units, 4 multi-room, multi-bedroom units, to 9 units within the 2 principal buildings. And then they would move their meeting space into the smaller building that had previously been a unit. That meeting space would be under the 400 square feet that would otherwise be required for an accommodations use. Again, this is an existing non-conforming accommodations use. As it previously was approved at 4 units, didn't have the 10 required units that we would normally have for a accommodations use, as well as the meeting space. So you can see various floor plans, and you can see by the color coding kind of how they're going to be breaking everything out into the new space. The meeting space is this smaller space right there, and now it turns pink because it was a unit, and now it's not. Again, you can see how they take the spaces and break those down, and then they have a very detailed movement plan for how the cars are going to maneuver on site. Again, this is all within the existing footprints, if you would, of the buildings that are there. It actually gets you closer to conformance with the accommodations requirements of 10 sleeping units. And the meeting space, again, it's an existing non-conforming use. For those reasons, staff is recommending approval of this special exception.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody here who is in opposition to the application for 154 Spring Street? Anybody in opposition? All right, seeing no one in opposition, do we have the other applicant here? All right, anything you'd like to say to the board? All right, questions for the city, questions for the applicant?
At Summerfield, it says 4 units to 9 units, 10 are required. Can you explain what you were saying?
Yeah, so under our ordinance, to get a special exception for a new accommodations use, you must have a minimum of 10 sleeping units within your proposed operation. This location actually only had 4. It basically had, and I will let the applicant correct me if I get it wrong, but essentially, you know, really like an apartment type setup, 1 unit, 2nd unit, 1 unit, 2nd unit. So it's 4 units across basically 2 buildings, 3 buildings. I think actually the smaller space in the middle was a unit, and the one house operated kind of as a house, and then the other building operated as 2 units. Am I getting that right? Yes. So it had 4 units. They are now reconfiguring it so that they can actually do multiple accommodations units within each of the 2 primary buildings, residential buildings. And then in that smaller middle building that you can see on the site plan, they would use that for meeting their meeting space requirement. So it's still a non-conforming because it would still be in why you have the 4 to 9 requires 10 because it's still under 10. So it's still technically not meeting the minimum requirement. However, it's existing at 4 units. They're getting closer to that requirement, and now they're providing meeting space. And again, they're not building anything new, and they're demonstrating their parking on site. Again, a lot of movement necessary, but they're still they satisfy the on-site movement.
And parking, there is a parking requirement.
Yes, with every use, there's a parking requirement. So they have parking spaces. Again, that last image shows that they did do their maneuverability analysis, that these spaces are in fact technically usable.
So the city's position is basically they're bringing this property into closer conformity to the existing ordinance.
Correct.
All right, any other questions for the city or for the owner applicant? We have a motion.
Move approval.
All right, Mr. Morrison moves to approve. Is there a second? Ms. Goodwin seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes unanimously, and the special exceptions for 154 Spring Street are granted. Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda, B7, 504 Meeting Street, East Side, Council District 4, MS number 459-05-03-076, Zone GB, requesting a special exception under Section 54-206Y to extend allowance of on-premises alcohol consumption after midnight to 2nd floor of existing building, and requesting a special exception under Section 54-317 for required off-street parking. 0 spaces are proposed, 2 are required. The owner is Residential Associates of Charleston, Taylor Grant. The applicant is Robbie Marty. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this is right at the corner of Meeting Street and Shepherd Street. Currently goes by the name of the Commodore. And I say that it's been the Commodore for a while. So you can see here in the applicant's packet, some street views of it, as well as some labeling where they have the current primary entrance. They also have a direct 2nd floor entrance. They do indicate, and we acknowledge that there is as a part of our recommendation regarding the parking special exception that, and they have another diagram here I'll show in a minute. But there is plenty of commercially accessible parking within easy walking distance of this location, as well as the fact that they do have some space or area that is marked for loading and unloading only that they can do, that they currently use as kind of rideshare pickup. They have some additional pictures of the property. Site we just talked about. They did include in here a concentration map just to again show that this is not an area that is high in consumption. And again, the site already has approval for on-site alcohol consumption and after midnight. Here's the image that shows where there's commercial parking in very close proximity to the site. Part of the reason why it's only 2 spaces required before I get to the site plan is because it is converting an existing space that already had non-conforming parking. So they get credit towards their parking requirement. So I think this would have required another space and a half or something like that under versus just the 2 spaces. And so anyway, they have some credit because they're actually converting on the 2nd floor. They're converting, I believe it was residential. There was essentially apartment units that just weren't being rented out, that they're converting for this additional lounge space. So here you have the 1st floor of the Commodore, and then here would be their proposed new 2nd floor. Again, previously this was Unit B, which was a residential unit. C is, I believe, remaining a residential unit or is going to be used as an office space. That part is still unclear, but in terms of where the use that we're looking at this evening would expand to is into this area on the 2nd floor that would create kind of this new lounge space that they would be proposing. The stage and that live entertainment element would remain on the 1st floor. This would be a kind of a quieter space that you could go and have your cocktail, actually maybe have a conversation with someone in the 2nd floor space. This is again reuse of an existing building. They're not asking to expand outside of the existing footprint. It already has the special exception for consumption after midnight. The 2nd floor has not been in use in this area. I think maybe the Unit C has been used in the past, but Unit B is, as I understand it, has been vacant for quite a while and has maybe been being used for storage. So this would help put this into some more productive use, which ideally helps ensure that this property remains in use and again productive in this area going forward. So with that, again, this is a special exception for parking, not a variance. And make sure that that distinction is very clear because this is a lot more leeway in terms of requesting a special exception versus a variance for parking. There is plenty of commercial parking in the vicinity that should not impact any neighbor parking or residential parking in the area. It's really not a very large space that they are converting for this lounge. And so staff is recommending approval of the expansion of the after midnight consumption to this 2nd floor area, as well as the special exception to allow for no additional parking for the use of this space.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody here in opposition to the application for 504 Meeting Street? Anybody here in opposition? All right, seeing no one in opposition, do we have the owner or applicant here? All right, anything you'd like to say to the board?
I'll be glad to answer any questions, but not at this time.
Any questions for the owner applicant? Any questions for the city?
I have a question about the square footage for the Unit B expansion area. what that is, and I'm assuming this will mean there's an increase in the number of patrons.
So, first of all,
Go ahead
I'm
and
Robbie
state your
Marty.
name. Yeah,
I'm
thank you.
the architect representing this project. And so the intention with this expansion is not to increase the occupancy of the downstairs space. The intention of this is, as Mr. Summerfield said, to allow our existing patrons a slightly more exclusive VIP experience where they could come and maybe sit down and have a cocktail and have a conversation while the music is going. The music will be the same music. There's not going to be additional or different music on the second floor. It's all going to be, it's still just, it's one space. We just thought that we believe that this is an excellent opportunity to expand and give our existing patrons just a little bit of a different experience.
So there wasn't any opposition with the neighbors or the neighborhood?
Any other questions for Ms. Marty while she's up there?
Mr. Chairman, if I might, Ms. Grass brings up an excellent point. While it's not necessarily a requirement for the noticing, I would like to just quickly verify, calculate that square footage. So as a part of the approval, you could indicate that you are approving this amount of square footage
Okay,
as a part of it, just because I know that's pretty customary for previous actions.
Well, Ms. Marty's gonna have to tell us the square footage of unit B, right?
Yeah, trying to do a quick off the floor plan. Says 580 square feet. All right.
I feel like there's likely that there's a sheet that has that on. I believe if you go to A10. That's so this parking requirements calculates in the proposed occupancy of restaurant, which is what it would be considered. The interior patrons space is 580 square feet.
all right, so you'd like to include that in a motion?
Yes, sir.
The
Yeah, to
580
extend
square
the
feet.
allowance of the off-premise to midnight to 580 feet, second floor of the existing building.
Okay.
Square feet, please.
All right, any further discussion, any other questions?
Just so that I'm looking at your A10 and I was looking at one that said, looks like it's 25 feet 11 by 33, 4.5. Where it says unit B, is that what we're looking at?
Yes.
My math was just a little bit different.
So that's the area of the unit B, but the patron use area would be the area outside of the bar area. So
Okay.
they would remove that. They would remove the stair area. They would move they would move this kind of hall area. So yeah, patron use only constitutes the area where there's essentially seating for patrons.
Your math is good.
I'm gonna assume her math is good because I don't.
We were down to inches, because it's parking.
All right, further questions for Ms. Barty? Thank you very much. Do we have any further discussion?
Is the condition so that the expansion is only for that 582?
Yes.
Is that right? And so
580.
580, and it does not extend into unit C?
Essentially,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, because as the header would read now, a plans reviewer later would not know that we weren't considering unit C as a part of this.
Right.
So it's to expand it into 580 square feet.
So it's not the full second floor.
Yeah.
May I just, I'm sorry, just to
Yeah, please.
just clarify what we are asking for. So currently, the use sort of officially was 2 residential units. The back unit C had been used as an office space. That will continue to serve as office and storage, sort of ancillary, sort of back of house use for the Commodore.
Yeah,
So it won't be patron area, but I just want to make sure that we're not foregoing our ability to be able to use that as business space, just not, the patron area is.
It's not part of the
The front.
patron area, so it's not subject to
Right.
special
Yeah.
exception on both
Okay.
counts.
Just
Yeah.
wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, any further discussion? Somebody ready to make a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Okay, move for approval of the special exception for consumption of alcohol and parking as to 580 square feet on the second floor, which is the patron area within Unit B, right? Okay. Mr. Morrison seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The ayes have it unanimously, and the special exceptions for 504 Meeting Street are granted. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We have a motion. I'm sorry.
Mr. McKay did. Yep. All right, the next item on our agenda, B8 2109 Virginia Oaks Court, West Apsley, Council District 2, TMS number 353-03-00-041, Zone SR1, requesting a variance from section 54-3471 to build an attached garage within the 10-foot building setback line from the BCM critical area buffer. The owner applicants are Matthew and Crystal Martin. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so you can see the property here at the end of Virginia Oak Court, right on the marsh. Here you can see in the aerial where that is. I'm going to draw your attention to the survey here. So you can see on the survey that with the critical line buffer line, our critical buffer line, so the critical line would be here, the 25-foot critical area buffer line is here, and we have a 10-foot setback that comes off of that buffer that would be normally a further building setback line. As you can see with this this property, you already have a encroachment that is existing on this two-story home. Again, it is important to note that this is already an existing two-story home, which means that going up really isn't an option for them in order to make an addition for some additional living space on their home. Further, as you see, because of the odd shape of the lot, the critical line obviously nature isn't prone to go with our nice squares and rectangles. And so it moves around. Obviously, that moves the critical line, the buffer, and thus this setback. And so you can kind of see that we already have not only a part of the house, but also the screen porch kind of goes completely into it. And even if they wanted to move and try to do this somewhere else, there really is nowhere else on this property that is viable for them to do an addition to create some additional living space. So what they proposed to do is they proposed this addition that would go in this area here. Honestly, for the lot, this is the most yard area that is not otherwise impacted by the setback, I think is the best way, or the buffer itself is the best way to say that. And so just important to note that with the survey and then the site plan. Here you can see elevations of what they're proposing to do. So they'd be doing this new attached two-story structure. They would be doing a carve out because they have their existing HVAC, their outdoor condenser units, or whatever those things are. I think I would know. I have two of them inside my house that cost me a lot of money. Anyway, so they have a carve out for those, but then they've created this garage space as well as a second story flex or loft space for their family use. They'd also be creating kind of a new mud room that they can enter from the back of the yard, so they can do that before they go into I believe it's the dining room. Again, a carve out here. Created an additional, area that they can clean off with the bathroom. And then, like I said, this flex off space that they'd be proposing above. Do want to make sure that we're clear. This is an addition because they are connecting completely through to the house. They're not just trying to do an attached accessory structure at this point. It is in addition to the home. You can see a picture of the side yard where they would be proposing to do this. If you will see in your packet that they do have letters of support from their neighbors. And again, just looking at the topography of this site with the way the site lines up, the critical line, the portion of the yard that's taken up by both the buffer and then the setback, there really is very little space for them to build on. This side of the yard seems like the only real place that they could do that. And it also kind of keeps the encroachment, if you would, into that setback at this side of the yard where they already have an existing encroachment for the existing house, as well as the screen porch. And so with that, staff is recommending approval of the variance to allow the garage or the new attached garage within the 10-foot building setback.
Okay, and remind me the size of the encroachment here.
It's a full 10 feet. There is the element of similar to how the where's my similar to how you have the porch that goes right up to the line. So the addition has an element that would go all the way up to the line. So it would be a full 10-foot encroachment into the building setback from the critical area buffer.
Okay, and so obviously the city has an ordinance and has regulations that impose a greater degree of protection for the coastal line. So there's the OCRM critical line, and then there's a do not build buffer that extends 10 feet. And they're asking in essence for us to waive that condition.
Correct, for an element of their addition, consistent with the fact that their existing house is already in that space. Again, they are proposing the addition within the area where it's the least impactful, if you would, for the buffer. It's to the side yard, which has another lot adjacent to it. And it is, to be clear, so we have the critical line. We have a 25-foot buffer area that there's nothing allowed in. And then we have a further 10-foot setback, building setback buffer where you could put non-building elements in normally without issue, but again, that is technically a setback. In this case, because you have the existing encroachment, and there really is nowhere else on the lot that you could build without encroaching and do any achievable square footage. The fact that it was to the east of the existing building, which lines it up more with the property line instead of somewhere again back towards the critical area. Even though the critical area does kind of dip more into the property here, staff felt in talking with folks in site design as well, that this was a good compromise in terms of the property owner being able to add some additional square footage while minimizing the impacts that are, to your point, Mr. Chairman, the reason why we have those additional protections on the critical area.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Summerfield. Do we have anybody here in opposition to the application for 2109 Virginia Oak Court? All right, seeing no one in opposition, do we have the owner's applicants? All right, sir. Do we have any questions for the city or for the owner?
I'm curious how the city thinks this meets the variance test.
Mhm.
So again, it's an oddly shaped lot. It is further exacerbated by the fact that in addition to its odd shape, then you throw on the critical area buffer, and then you throw on the 10-foot additional building setback. It makes for a very small building potential envelope that, again, in this case is very irregularly shaped. The existing structure is already encroaching within that area, and creates to some extent a shield, if you would, for the proposed addition. Again, where they're proposing it at is the least. Again, it's intruding into the setback, not the buffer. It's the least intrusive, if you would, of those. There was no concern about this being disruptive to the character of the neighborhood or area. As you can kind of see, this is a relatively small neighborhood. Existing structures, which are all at kind of different angles and different positions on the properties, in part to respond to the fact that they are on the marsh and on the critical line. And so.
All right, yeah, thank you. Let's talk with Mr. Martin. I'm sure, I think somebody's got a question for him.
I do.
If you wouldn't mind coming up to the podium, sir.
I know, just real quickly, this isn't really a question for you, but I do have a question for you. I don't know, I believe that the critical area buffer, and so much thought went into creating those to protect not only the wetlands, but also, private property. That it concerns me when, especially going into an entire 10 feet of, building into the entire 10 feet of that critical area buffer. But I wanted to ask the owner, if you considered, well, what the square footage is first, but also of the proposed addition, but if you considered maybe building a smaller footprint so that it wouldn't encroach so much into the
If I
buffer.
may, Mr. Chairman, I just want to be clear. So this is not intruding into the buffer. It's the
Right.
additional setback that that our code requires from between the buffer and the building area.
Right, I'm just using the language y'all have.
Thank you, Robert. Yeah, I think we understand. There's the OCRM critical line and there's the required buffer, but then there's an additional buffer line that the city has
Yeah.
beyond, 10 feet beyond the critical line. And obviously we have to assume there's some purpose for the city to enact that regulation. But please, if you'd like, ask Mr. Martin.
So, I'm Matthew Martin, I'm the owner. I think the square footage is on the plan. I don't know the exact square footage, but the reason we came to this size is, in order to get a usable garage space below and then a livable space above. I mean, that's generally the suitable square footage that we're gonna need, to meet our needs. Does that answer your question?
It does. I guess when I look at it, I just see so much space that is in the area that's encroaching, that's like the stairs. I didn't know, and I don't mean to get into the whole design thing. I'm just asking, like, was there an opportunity to maybe move some of that so that there wasn't so much built?
I mean, we certainly looked at that. I mean, we were trying to keep the stairs on the inside and not on the outside. We just felt like that was unsightly for the neighbors. We could have put it on the outside facing the neighbors, but then they're gonna be looking at the stairs and everything piled under there. So we were trying to make it, attractive for the neighbors, which they obviously feel like this is a good design. And then we have the HVAC units on the other side, which are a little bit of a impeding factor without the cost and expense of moving those somewhere else.
Robert, can you put it to the lot? The lot.
Any-
the lot numbers?
I don't mean to interrupt, Ms. Goodwin, and certainly Robert can answer your question. I don't want to have Mr. Martin standing up there longer than he needs to. Does anybody have any other questions for the owner while he's here?
A question for the owner.
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry, somebody. had a
We
question.
do have one from
Oh.
Ms. Goodwin.
Oh, do the neighborhood has an HOA, neighborhood association?
So this house was built in 1930. There's 4 other homes that built around it in the neighborhood, which are in a HOA. This house is not officially part of the HOA. Pierpont Point is the name of the HOA. One of the, members who signed and provided the letter is the president of the HOA.
Mr. Martin, when did you purchase the house?
Approximately 3 years ago.
All right, thank you, Mr. Martin. We'll let you know if we've got more questions for you. And Bill, I'm sorry to interrupt. You had a question for Robert.
Yes, the lot, where it shows, yeah, lot 2 and lot 4, you know those addresses?
Yeah. So lot 2 would be 2113 and lot 4 would be 2105. So 2105 is the first letter that's in your public comment packet from Mr. Meek. And as the applicant indicated, he is the HOA president for those other lots that are within a homeowners association. So that's that one. And then the next one is 2113, which would be the neighbor on the other side, but 2105, which is this very first one, that would be the neighbor most closely impacted by the proposed addition.
All right, any other questions or discussion? Mr. Morrison, I think I heard you ask how the city made a determination of this meeting, the variance test, and I do think it's appropriate to consider one element, and obviously the board can make a decision on this, but the third element of the variance test is that because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit, it wouldn't prohibit, but does it unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property?
I feel like looking at it from an aerial, it looks like it's set back more than the other houses. Just something that I observed, like all the other 4 in that cul-de-sac seem to be closer up, and it was built so long ago that maybe that's a reason that it's got to happen this way. Is something I was thinking, but do you want to go into the aerial, Robert? Of
Yeah.
all the houses.
You can see the footprint there, I think underscores what you're getting at. It's difficult. Well, maybe it's not difficult to see.
It just looks like it's closer to the wetlands to me than the others, but
Yeah, it's definitely set back farther than.
And so, Mr. Martin, I'm sorry, now I do have another question for you. Could we go back to the site plan that shows the existing conditions? So what you're saying is you thought it would be less attractive for your neighbors if you were to place a garage somewhere in between the right of way for Virginia Oak Court and the front of your house. In other words, put it in the area where that concrete.
I mean, the problem with that is, those grand oak trees, they're the 3 more darker circles there in the front of the grand oak tree that'd be difficult to, and honestly, it would.
To site plan with those trees. Yeah,
It would be difficult to fit anything in there, and even if we were allowed to do that, it's gonna change the character of the site more than where we're putting it.
okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I guess I just, with that, it's like, I've been going back to Mr. Morrison's comment too about the meeting the variance test, and I mean, there is some opportunity. I know it's not ideal, but with the HVAC, all that area, maybe the footprint, I don't know, it just seems like it doesn't really meet the hardship test to me because there could be alternatives for building less in that area or not in that area.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, is there a motion?
I will reluctantly move approval.
Okay. All right, Mr. Morrison moves to approve. Is there a second? I appreciate you moving the process along, Mr. Morrison. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Huey is going to second the motion. So we have a motion to approve and we have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. All right, so we got 3 for, 3 against. And so unfortunately, that doesn't give you your majority. And so the motion to approve fails and the variance is not granted. And so we will not be able to grant you relief on this application. And we would encourage you to take a look and see whether or not there's anything else that could be done that has less of an impact.
So can I speak?
You can, yeah.
So in the event that there's no other alternative, I mean, we've looked at this extensively.
Right.
Aside from tearing the house down and building something new there. Essentially what I'm hearing is there's no way to get variance to build within the 10-foot setback.
I don't think that that's what you heard from the board. I think there were concerns about the extent of the impact. And so,
It helps to
Does
make
the board realize, I'm sure you do, but there's already an 11 home development being built in the neighboring property. And I know that has nothing to do with our property, but it is on the marsh, so it doesn't seem the concern with this would, exceed the magnitude of that concern.
well, we take each thing as on a case-by-case basis. I'm not familiar with any applications for the adjacent neighborhood or development before this board. We have to look at the facts and we have to apply those facts to the legal standards. Sometimes we see things, most of the time we all see things the same way and have a unanimous decision. This time we had differing opinions on whether or not the property qualified under the or required criteria of the variance. And so that's where we are. Your options at this point in time, you could request reconsideration of the board's decision, and Summerfield or Mr. Slagle could walk you through that in terms of the staff. Otherwise, I think you have to wait 6 months to reapply for a variance if it's denied. So that's where you are.
It may help to bring your architect, if you do reconsideration, talk about why it's the only option is to build where you've got proposed. That gap with that space with the HVAC stands out as area that could potentially be used, even if it meant having to move your HVAC and whatever else by way of appliance you've got in there. So
And I understand that, and we've considered that. It's got to go somewhere.
yeah,
We are going over to allow
Right.
a little space above.
And so you can make all those points on reconsideration, but now the board has made a decision. And so we do appreciate your comments, but we've made a decision and we need to move on. So thank you, Mr. Martin. All right,
Mr. Chairman, can I just confirm the 3 against were Ms. Grass?
Mr. Goodwin and me.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, sir.
All right, the next item on our agenda, B9, 1068 River Shore Road, Daniel Island, Council District 1, TMS number 271-00-03-065, zone SR1, requesting a variance from section 54-301 to allow a pool deck retaining wall, 4-foot 2-inch rear setback, 25 feet are required. The owner is Michael Torek. The applicant is Salty Reef Pools LLC, Matthew Reeve. Mr. Summer.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so you can see the property here on River Shore Road. in the. This is. On Daniel Island, but I can't remember what the neighborhood is exactly here. So you can see here in the aerial, the house, this is in a, or on a, irregularly shaped lot. There is a wetlands, area behind it. You can see the applicant can correct me, but I believe that's freshwater, right? Yeah. So freshwater wetlands, not to confuse it with what we were recently talking about. So you can see here kind of the site plan for the pool drawings, which all the lines and numbers and stuff can be a little confusing. So staff reviewed this and had approved the pool. At the time, it was unfortunately, when staff did that, they weren't quite clear to the extent of the decking around the pool. Specifically, they weren't aware of the fact that it would create a kind of an elevation above grade. Again, in-ground pools, particularly in these areas where you do have these shifts in grade going down to a wetlands area, have become a big conversation point, if you would. In fact, council just recently updated an amendment to the code that allows for some level of relief on these, but the proposal unfortunately exceeds the relief that we can do on that administratively. You can see here how the pool decking comes off the back of the property due to the grade. Obviously, you're not going to have a pool that follows that grade, so it's either decking as they proposed, or well, I don't think they could do fill, but you know that in some places would be the other alternative, would be to try to bring in some fill. Here you can see another, and these are renderings that are done by the pool company, I believe. So they're not quite what you would see from like maybe an architect with the full on CAD. But again, you can see that there's that 2 foot that because of where that comes down at, puts that into the setback. Again, this was a pool permit that staff had approved, not realizing at the time the full extent of the decking and that impact at grade given our new ordinance. They did have a permit. This is not after the fact. They were under construction when the realization came that the full scope of that decking would create a conflict with the setback requirement because of the elevation change or the slope. So they have paused their non-structural supporting work on the pool and have come forward for this variance as requested by staff. Again, I do want to be clear, this is not any kind of after the fact situation. They did have a permit. The permit reflected the scope of the current drawings. There was just not an awareness of the full scope of that decking. They do have approval from the Architectural Review Committee for Beresford Creek, which is the homeowners association. This is Daniel Island, so of course there's architectural review for any type of request. Again, this is a one where again the slope, don't think that this really impacts any neighbors. We did not receive any kind of objections from any of the neighbors. They were operating under an approved permit for construction, and staff is recommending approval of this variance.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody here?
Wait, Matt?
Yep.
I'm sorry, but I gotta make sure I understand. This requires variance because it encroaches into one of these same buffers.
No, this is just a setback.
Setback,
This is
just
just
a
a regular setback. This is freshwater. It doesn't have it's not going into the buffer. It's just a regular setback.
And can you show us with that architectural rendering, that pool company's drawing that you showed us? Can you give us some idea how much is a setback intrusion?
It's 21 feet, isn't it?
Yeah, so
Where is it in the?
so
scheme?
it's this part, hold on a second. Magnifying glass, so it's this part, so an in-ground pool does not have to meet any setback requirements, so you could do an in-ground pool within the entire setback area.
Right.
That was what we approved, not realizing that the decking, because of the grade change here, actually then put this pool above what our code currently, council just adopted code law on how much we can, as a staff, approve basically a structural component of the in-ground pool that goes above the grade. This unfortunately exceeds that. So the result is that the structural element of the pool that is at the 2 feet 1 inch is 4 feet 2 inches from the property line. So at that point, this is a 25-foot setback. So up around here, I think we actually get to grade. So this part here isn't an intrusion. So it's
Can you show it to me on that other photo?
yeah.
So that one,
Yeah, so essentially,
it's over here on. the
yeah, you
left-hand
have the
side.
property line and somewhere over here, again, not because this is by the pool company. So you have the property line over here, again, an in-ground pool that is at in-ground or meets the again, the allowance that's in code, and I think it's 18 inches, could be in the setback, no problem. The problem is because of the grade shift
I follow
here.
that, but how much of this decking is encroaching? That's what I wanna know.
So the encroachment would be the 25-foot, I believe is,
White dash line.
yeah, it's the white dash line. Okay, that's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure. Okay, yeah, it's the 25-foot setback. So again, so anything this way of this white line here is in the setback. That said, the decking is allowed to be in that setback up to 18 inches. So I think the intrusion actually happens in about this area here. And of course, the owner is here, pool company applicant, so they can correct me if I say anything.
Somebody's got to tell me better than that, yeah. Sorry, I just can't visualize how much of it is a problem.
Matthew Reed with the pool company, Salty Reed Pool. So it's the one corner where the spa is. It's 9 feet from that point into that intrusion area because of the decking. So the pool has been permitted. We're here just for the retaining wall to support the decking for that side of the pool. And the reason that we had to put it in this location is we had to stay behind the footprint of the home, and we shifted it as far to the other side as possible to stay behind that footprint of the home.
So can we see anything that shows us how much decking would still survive if this thing were compliant? Like
There would be nothing on that one side that would be compliant.
Yeah, no.
nothing on that side?
Nothing on that side, and that's where the spa is, so there would be no way to get into that spa.
Right. Okay, I think I understand.
How did we find out about this?
During the permit review process, I think there was a secondary permit for the retaining elements.
Yes, when we had submitted for the permit for the swimming pool, we were told to come back and submit for the retaining wall.
Right.
And we came back to submit for the retaining wall after we had already received the pool permit. So we submitted for the retaining wall permit, and that's what brought us here today.
So it's during the review process, but because our process broke the permit into two different components. We approved the one that let them move forward with the pool, but then when they supplied for the retaining elements of it, basically the above grade portions, that's when it was realized that it would exceed the, again, I think it's 18 inches that the code allows us to approve administratively for an encroachment into the setback to accommodate a in-ground pool.
And to note, the pool is at grade, up on the front of the
Yeah.
pool is at grade, so it's just based off of the slope of the yard. That brings us to having to have that retaining wall. We couldn't move it too much closer to the home. One of the concerns is that there's steps that are coming down right there in front of the pool, so we didn't want to have it too close for the ability of undermining the pillars for that steps and potential people jumping off into the
So
pool.
if you had 3 feet right here for access to this spa area, you could still enter the spa area with
We would-
less of an intrusion, right?
It's less of an intrusion, but we'd still need that retaining wall.
Right. Still need a retaining wall. Yeah, yeah. I think I follow.
Yeah, so right now, and again, correct me if I am wrong, but the current proposal is for the decking to be
9 feet.
9 feet from the actual like pool
Hoping.
coping.
Yes. And we do have structural drawings for the retaining wall as well. So it has been through a structural engineer.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, I think we've heard all we need to hear from you for the moment.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And I did want to ask, because I don't think that I got a response. Is anyone here opposed to the application at 1068 River Shore? So no one's here in opposition. We do have the applicant. And then do we have the owner as well? Is that okay? All right. Anybody have any questions for the owner or for the city? Any discussion?
Why does this look similar to me to the last one? That I'd support this if they would cut the decking back to the reasonably smallest decking they could use to utilize their spa area. I don't see why we would consider approving for variance more than the minimal needed to access the spa area. The rest of it seems like space that could be used for shades, lounges, or chairs or something.
Anybody else have any comments?
I agree.
All right. Ms. Goodwin?
Question for the city, so you said that, there's no restrictions as to the size,
Of the pool? No.
but there are.
Yeah, for an in-ground pool, correct. Like it can go wherever it wants essentially. I mean, you could have a pool that takes up your whole backyard if you can engineer it and do it properly and not exceed, I think, again, don't quote because it's a new section of code, but I think it's an 18-inch structural element that can be above grade within that area.
So it's the setback on the right here that's the issue.
Correct. It's this
We're
portion.
actually a little bit on both sides, so.
So I guess question for the applicant, like. If that was cut back, would that do anything structurally, or that's just the amount of decking that you guys want?
It wouldn't impact anything structurally.
And it says that's 2 feet, 1 inches
That is
high.
correct, yes.
And if
That
it-
is the difference between the front of the Pool to the rear of the pool, it's about 2 feet 1 inch.
So if that was 18 inches, you wouldn't need to
We
be
wouldn't be
here.
here today.
Got
And there is no neighbors behind as well.
All right, any further discussion?
So looking at that picture, everything that is around that fire pit, none of that matters. Is that sound great?
Correct, none of that matter.
So what we're talking about is,
Nothing at this left side matters.
well, actually, I
Does
don't
it?
know. I think it does.
So looking at this.
Because if you look at that corner, that's 25 inches and you're only pulling it back a foot or so. Hopefully I can pay with the point back. Let's see.
Right, so there, yeah, so you would have
You got an issue on both sides.
yeah, you would have this part here at the 2 feet 1 inch, and it's outside of the 20.
This is kind of technical, and I would like to see us confirm this and have the applicant talk to the city about reducing the intrusion to minimally necessary to utilize the pool with some comfort. And not any excess above that requires variance. We can't approve a variance for a pool deck. There's almost no way we can approve a variance for a pool deck.
No.
Under the law.
Right.
And they can measure all these things with Robert, sitting down and figuring it out in a way that they can bring it back and we could.
Right.
We could become.
All right, so is that, do I hear a motion coming from your seat there?
Yes.
All right,
So
move to defer. All right, is there a second? Ms. Grass seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes for the deferral. So here's the issue, just in case you were wondering. When we have, one of the factors for the variance is that it either prohibits or unreasonably restricts the use of a property. It is impossible to make the argument that a portion of pool decking is an unreasonable restriction on the use of property. And so you can do this thing any which way you want, except for a variance. So I'm hoping that you all can come up with some kind of a solution with the city or with your design and or both that will accommodate your needs and also not require the board to overstep its legal boundaries and our guardrails that we're required to follow. So.
And
Sure.
just the one question that I have is that we've already received approval for the pool. The pool is already in place.
that's
right.
That's why we're gonna give you some variance on your decking.
Okay,
Because the city's already put you in this position.
okay,
So just, we're asking you to sit with them and trim your decking variance request down what you think is the minimal reasonable amount we have.
roger that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
And anything at grade is okay. And for landscape.
Correct.
All right, so this item is deferred. And now we're on to the final item on our agenda, number 10, B10, 1715 Hollydale Court, Johns Island, Council District 3, TMS number 313-00-00-327, Zone GB, requesting a variance from section 54-404C to allow an off-site sign. The owner is Lee and Associates. The applicant is Linda Heft. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this is on Hollydale Court. This is an area that basically has had, you have multiple parcels that are all essentially a part of a, you don't really call them commercial subdivisions here, but essentially a commercial subdivision where you're gonna have a number of parcels developed independently, but again, operating off this cul-de-sac, they'll operate almost like a single unit. And so the proposal here is that you have this parcel that is interior to this, again, I would kind of categorize it sort of as a commercial subdivision. As a result, then the request is to put what would be essentially a consolidated sign element, and this would be a part of that at the corner of Maybank and Hollydale Court. Similar to what the situation we've had on Clements Ferry with the business park and some of those parcels, the way they've been established, you end up with a number of independent parcels behind the frontage road, but then the entrance where you would normally have signage that says, here's where you enter for the 5 businesses that this access is then its own parcel. And so by our code, that's considered off-premise signage. Very similar situation here. And so you have the applicant proposing to have their signage be a part of this consolidated signage that would, again, the court will sort of act as a shopping center, if you would. Although, again, everything is individual parcels through here. So again, this is one where the code doesn't, in our current fashion, does not contemplate this distribution of land and use of land in this kind of configuration. And so staff is recommending approval.
All right, thank you. Do we have anybody here in opposition to the application for 1715 Hollydale Court? Seeing no one in opposition, Ms. Linda, did I mispronounce your name?
Oh, you did very good.
Okay, good.
I'm impressed.
Thank you. All right, so anybody want to speak on behalf of the owner or applicant, or are we ready to just have a discussion?
I'm helping out Linda with the application. I'm Lee, one of the owner's representative. I'm with his architecture team.
Okay,
I just want to point out the site is existing. We're replacing it and improving it. And I have an exhibit that I can show you if you want what the existing sign looks like. So we're just improving or replacing.
Yes,
the
please,
existing
I
sign.
have my question. And she's not, her business is not the only one on the sign.
Sorry?
So
her business is not the only business advertised on the sign.
A consolidated sign or something, I don't know.
It's multiple tenants.
Okay,
We call it a consolidated sign.
And this is the existing sign, and we're just proposing to replace it with the sign shown in the renderings. It's just a second page.
That's the packet we have, or is that new?
It's exactly the same, except we added a picture.
We added the
Then I
picture.
need that.
Yeah, sorry.
Good enough.
I
No
thought
worries.
Colleen had sent that over to you.
Just need the, whatever we were missing for the.
And I don't honestly know if that sign was ever permitted, approved.
don't be
whatever.
making confessions, nobody.
Tonight.
Glad you came out, because I was gonna ask that question.
I can answer that question.
Okay,
So
sure, please state your name and address for the record. Thanks.
James Backer, 131 Live Oak Drive, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. So my dad's the owner, so I've been helping him with the development. We only bought the building probably 2 years ago. The building was actually built like, I think 1997, and then there was a second edition in 2007. So the sign probably I mean, it's an old sign, so it probably dates back to that original set of approvals or the second approval. So I imagine guidelines may have been a little bit different back then. So just background,
But there will be no building on that property.
yeah,
It's just parking.
no, there's,
I mean, there's not an actual footprint.
yeah, so right now the sign that's existing there now is for 1715 Hollywood. So that's the existing building, I guess, the one that doesn't qualify under that. And then it'll also have a panel for the front parcel at whenever that gets developed as well. So it'll be for 1705 Hollydale, which is the triangle piece that's in front of it, and then the existing sign is for 1715. So that's what we want to replace and then have signage for both pieces.
And so you're Lee and Associates?
Yeah, that's, it should be TBLP LLC. Lee and Associates, I'm a broker there.
Yeah.
but they're not the owner. That's incorrect.
All right, any questions for the city?
So is there any requirement for like maintenance or sign falls? Who's responsible,
Property owner.
which is TBLC LLC?
Yes, the TBLP LLC, and it owns all, it owns it basically owns this piece, that piece, this piece, that, and then it goes all the way back to Trophy Lakes.
Okay.
So it's one owner.
So you own the property where the sign is.
Yes, that's correct.
And I represent the sign company that's building the sign.
And we, the city, prefer consolidated signs versus a bunch of just signs everywhere.
Yeah.
So, but why is it for 1715? And not not the site of the sign? I guess I'm confused by that.
So
You can't.
TBLB assembled this property over a couple of years.
Mhm.
So originally it was basically, it was a subdivision. And so 1715 was bought by a different owner at some point. And we bought it from that owner, but after the fact. So it was there used to be a property owners association on the property. And so it's all kind of part of that, but there's never been
The visibility.
Right, now I understand that.
1715 was a
So
separate.
she's asking a technical question that's gonna mess us up again and force us to redo this application. Because the applicant is at 1715 Hollydale, but the property where the variance would be to allow the off-premise sign on the triangle property, which I'm guessing is not 320 TMS ending in 327.
No, they're separate.
Yeah, so we're gonna redo this one, and this item is going to need to go back, and similar to our earlier 80 Ashley, I would request at this time that the board defer this item so that we can renotice it with the appropriate address and TSM number associated with the property versus the applicant.
And I would get the property owner correct on it too.
Yeah, at that point, we'll also fix that question as well.
All right, we'll entertain a motion to defer.
Make that.
Mr. McKay. All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye, and opposed, none are opposed, the motion passes, the matter is deferred, and we will see you again soon.
Thank you.
The good news is, you already know the date, 10/7. You'll be in the early part of the agenda, so there won't be no sitting around. It's just you and 80 actually at the moment, so.
Man, I'll tell you what, these short agendas get exciting.
But the people